All right, we are live. What is up, Facebook and beyond? More people coming in.
Got it live in Facebook. We're going live. Here we are.
All right, Mr. Jeff, let's start off with you. Do you have any wins? Do you have any wins from this last week, personal
Well,
or professional? What
yeah.
have you been up to?
Oh, just this little leadership program, no big deal. It was only 4 months long and probably one of the most rigorous things I've done in my life. But yeah, I finished it and it was amazing. Learned a lot, met a lot of amazing people who are doing amazing things in the world and created amazing relationships that I think will last a lifetime perhaps. And yeah, just really learned a lot about myself and others and leadership and understanding that the game of leadership and that leadership is always there's always the ability to lead in every moment right in front of us if we're just aware of it. So that was amazing. And then also the next day I flew to Florida to stay with a good friend of mine. And luckily he's put me up in the top level room at his place. And yeah, it's been amazing.
Well, I don't know who you're referencing, but he sounds like a wonderful guy.
Yeah, right. Took me out to dinner to some fancy Italian place and got me a big plate of lasagna the day I got there. It was like, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that was
cool.
super cool.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, we had
those are all
Gary
my wins.
Helms in town visiting, so we were able to join Gary, which is always awesome. This is one of my favorite things about this community is it seems like everywhere we go, we've got friends, and even when we live in a place that people like to visit, so it's always cool to make your way down to South Florida like Mr. Gary Helms did. We had a great time out to dinner with him and his girlfriend at a awesome Italian restaurant. I always think there's a tremendous amount of growth that happens when when you break bread, like not like growth as the relationship growth, right? It's one thing to be on a flat screen on Zoom, but when you actually get to hang out with people and you really get to find out who they are a little bit. It reminds me of Mr. Paul Myers and I. We shared a meal in San Diego. I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, right? Was that right, Paul? 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, that was probably yeah, 3 or 4 years ago now. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, one of the best meals that Paul's ever had.
Absolutely. That was an experience, that's for sure.
That was an experience. That's right. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That
The
that
first
visit. Yeah.
20, well, the first 15 minutes, I wasn't sure if I was going to get stabbed, shot, beaten. I'm not sure, but it was interesting.
Not by me, just for the record. Not by
No,
me.
no, not by
You took
Patrick,
him
but
to, you took him to
for the
that
guest that
restaurant.
Patrick invited to join us. I wasn't sure where that was going.
Yeah. So I think Paul and I we were at another event and we decided to go get lunch together in downtown San Diego. And what there was another guy that was kind of like sitting next to us. Somehow a conversation got started with this guy, and then you're ever in that conversation, and then like a couple minutes into it, you're like, "Oh shit, this guy's like legit crazy." Like,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
he seemed like a really nice guy at first, and then it was like train came off the tracks pretty quickly. I think we ended up having to bounce out of there a little early because it was getting pretty uncomfortable. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fun story. It was a great experience. That was the first time I think we met in person, Paul.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, for sure. And that's going back a bit. That guy was scary, but I think you had the patience to deal with him for, 15 minutes and help him out. And then yeah, we bailed and hit on him in a different restaurant, but he did walk by that second restaurant. I thought he spotted us, but he didn't. Everything was good.
Yeah. Paul, do
Good
you have any
time.
wins, anything cool from the last week?
I have one client we've been working on for just a little bit. It's turns out it's about $8,000 and it's a paid traffic campaign. That's just our fee ad spend extra for across the US in January. So That's good. That'll lead to other things too. So we'll see where that goes. That's just for January, February. So yeah, we'll take that.
That's great. So with the paid ad stuff, is that something that you guys are doing in-house, or are you kind of white labeling that and putting it onto a different agency?
No, we do all that in-house. I run all that myself.
Okay. And when you do paid ads, is this Facebook, Google, Instagram, YouTube? What are you kind of dialing in on?
Facebook and Instagram is my primary interest. I still haven't learned YouTube or PPC as well. I know they're fairly straightforward. I've got a couple of ads running there, but I much prefer Facebook and Instagram. Just kind of where we are at right now.
Yeah. So Paul, I've heard a lot of people talk about how, like, when you run ads on Facebook or one of these other platforms for like a home service contractor, that the quality it goes down because the buyer intent isn't there like it is for somebody that's searching Google. I'm just curious how you deal with that.
Yeah, so we have probably 4 contractors right now running Facebook ads in different areas. They're all complaining about the quality of the lead flow, but they're still selling some of them and making money. But the big play, the massive play, the one that I can show a tremendous amount of value is 3 to 4 months later doing a database reactivation campaign and bringing a ton of those people back to the table with the text message. Huge.
I see. So you're kind of building up your database, and then that database has a ton of value. Maybe not like immediately, but a few months down the road, we can bring some of these people back in for some additional sales.
Right on. Yeah, we do it. We'll target that database twice a year, every 6 months, put them on a drip mode. Usually 150 SMSs per day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So 450 a week. So if he's got, 3,000 people, it's going to take 6-7 weeks to go through that. But these are real conversations happening. And someone's got to stay on top of them. So that's where the value is. It's very hard to be able to, I'm in the renovation space, very hard to bring a $50,000 kitchen lead in on the first touch. So, once we get the lead, we're in a nurture sequence. So we're dropping emails once a week. We drop text messages, we drop ring this voice mails. And then usually I've tried quarterly, but better about every 5 or 6 months, we do that database reactivation campaign. And I just did one for a guy 2 weeks ago. It was very quiet in December. Tickled pink of the results that brought him. More conversations, more appointments, more estimates. So they may not know you and do much when the first lead comes in because the quality of the lead is suspect for sure. But again, that's top of the funnel. It's a very hard sell trying to sell someone 30, 40, 50 grand just off of a Facebook ad. So by building in the email sequencing and SMSing, you can build that know me, like me, trust me. So when you come back to the table with an SMS message as a reactivation campaign, which I also charge them to do, you can bring some good value to the table.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Paul. Have you experimented with going beyond the know, like, and trust and like actually providing them value with, so if you're in like renovation, like, hey, here are the top trends for 2024. Here's the pros and cons of like this countertop versus this type of countertop. So that way you're kind of like educating them. I feel like the education piece is one of the best ways to build trust, and it can also move them through the funnel, right? So a lot of times when people are at the top of the funnel, they're there because they need education to go through it, right? And if you're the education source, what comes with that is trust, right? Which we see like right here, right? Like people, I think, trust me because I'm on here trying to help them with their agencies, right? So have you experimented with that, or is it more of like just like staying plugged in, like happenings here and there?
Yeah, our first initial email sequence is a why us. So the next day we'll say an email will go out saying, why would you want to choose our company? 3-4 days later, we send another one out, which is a testimonial. So don't take our word for it. Listen to other customers. 4 or 5 days later, another one goes out. Did you know we offer financing? And then the educational piece kicks in for long-term sequencing and nurturing.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. What kind of open rates do you get on these emails?
I don't know. I haven't really looked at that. That's I probably should know that, but I haven't looked at it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's always good to know and see if there's a way to tweak that and get that ratcheted up a little bit. And I think it can also help set the expectations for other people that are running these type of like nurturing sequences and that type of thing. So
Yeah.
Paul, thanks for sharing, man. I know this was kind of like an impromptu, but I felt like there was some gold in there that maybe other people could take away. So guys, today's call is going to be like questions and answers. So think about what you guys, if there's something that you guys are struggling with, if there's something that's working for you that you want to share, that'd be fantastic. But that's kind of what I wanted to have, like a little bit of an unstructured session here. I know with Rank Masters in that coaching program, this is some of the most loved type of call structures, is when you have this kind of like ability to ask these questions and like go a couple layers deep rather than it just always being like a presentation. So wanted to try that out. But let's keep moving here. Does anyone have any other wins to share for the last week, the last couple weeks? If you haven't been on, we'd love to hear it.
I'll go.
Sarah, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's a quick win. I want to humbly confess that I've done very little with lead generated since Dave passed. So, but now I'm starting over. And my win is that last week I finally officially set up my own LLC and got my EIN number. And this week, starting after the call, I'm gonna dive into your training and like go after it. So
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's just like, this makes it a lot more real, right? Now we've got a business that's associated with it. There's a level of a commitment once you start to do this. And, the hardest challenges, the biggest things we do always start with the first step. So the first step is out of the way. And I think for most people, just getting started is one of the hardest things. So congrats on that, Sarah. I know that you've been through some challenging times with multiple things, and it's great to see you persevere the way you have and kind of like find your way forward and stay after it.
yeah,
So
I will have a question coming up. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I should ask it now or later, but I want to
No, it's fine. Go for it.
And that's just about this, like the steps that you would, if you were starting over and you're going back into your training, is it outlined step by step? This is what you're doing. Like, I think I've seen that you have a YouTube video that's your first 30 days. So, or your first 10 days. So is that where I should start?
Yeah, I mean that one's a year old. I think things have changed a lot. Maybe it's 2 years old. I think things have changed a lot in the last 12 months or so. If I were starting over, like, what would I do? The first thing I would do is I would try to find like 3 or 4 niches that I'm kind of like interested in. Some of the qualifications that I would want in a niche would be, I want something that's going to have an average ticket cost of at least $1,000. I think those business owners, they're going to be a little bit more sophisticated if they've created a business where it's at least $1,000, right? You think like a carpet cleaner, that's probably going to be $200, $100 to have. Like, that's not
Like
high
their
enough.
average ticket value, right? Is what you're talking
Their
about.
average ticket value. Those typically come with niches where the owner has had to invest a little bit more into it. They also, if you go above like an average ticket cost of $4,000, then the volume can start to go down. There are some exceptions to that, like the niche that Paul's in with like remodeling. I like that niche. I think that's a good niche, but some of the other ones, especially ones that are going to be affected by the seasons and like are affected by the economy. So I kind of like take a lot of these things into account. I like niches where there's a license required, because in areas where there's not, it can kind of be a race to the bottom. I'm in concrete. If I had to do over again, I probably wouldn't have picked concrete, but hey, this is, 400 sites later, like,
I heard that
this
was
is
tough. Like
What's that?
I heard that's tough. Concrete and roofing.
Yeah, roofing is tough. Roofing is one that I like. I probably would like roofing better than concrete, even though it's probably more competitive, because when somebody needs a new roof, they need a new roof, right? It's not like with luxury flooring, concrete, like this is optional. There's no one that's like, hey, I've got to have my garage epoxied or something like where it's going to damage my house, right? So, but what happens in concrete a lot is there's a lot of states where there's no license required. And then you have a consumer who's trying to make a decision on between multiple different concrete people, and one can be very experienced using the best product, and the other one can be driving around with materials from like Home Depot, and it can be a race to the bottom where we can send great leads, but they can lose to some guy who's willing to do it for the third of the cost because they're not a real company. When a license is required, like it becomes a lot harder for people to do that. Like,
that makes sense. So, but if you're building the site first and you're getting the leads in, how are you doing that without the license? Or you're just hoping to not get caught?
Yeah, you're like what you can do once you get the site up is, I mean, you can reach out and essentially just cold call somebody and be like, hey, this is what we're going to do. I don't want anything. I don't want any money. I'll send you this stuff. Can I put your license number on it? But realistically, until your site really starts to show up in Google, it's going to be hard for people to it's going to be hard for you to get in trouble for not having a license on it. I've had people reach out to me a couple times, and there's states where a license was required, but it seems like nobody pays attention. And there's states like Arizona where like they seem to really be, they have like a effective licensing department. I remember I had someone from Arizona call me and they're like, hey, your license isn't on this. And Arizona actually says, I'm not sure if this is still the way it is. The way it used to be is like you would have to say that you're a referral site if you don't have a license on it. And I didn't have that on the site. And the woman was on the phone with me and I like logged into WordPress and I put it on the footer. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. If you just go to the bottom, it's right there. And she's like, oh, okay, there it is. I'm like, all right. So that happened in real time, but yeah, it hasn't been a huge deal. I think that maybe Spencer had to pay some sort of fine because of licensing. I can't remember exactly, but my experience, I haven't had that issue. So let's keep moving though. The next thing though, I would find a few of these niches, and then I would build a couple sites in those niches and start to get some leads coming in.
Well, look at this. Like I'm having a different work done in my house for different reasons. So I'm starting with them and and then doing due diligence within I'm using like Home Advisor, Angie's List, and taking those leads because I already know they're paying for them. And then taking like 3 to 5 different businesses and looking at which one might need the most help and then bring them over and hire one of them and maybe hire the one that I really want to work with instead.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to do it. And honestly, I started to kind of give you the answer that I've always given. And then after coaching and rank masters for the last 7 or 8 months, what I've learned is I think starting with prospecting is a great way to do it. So if you can, like what you're doing where you're reaching out to these home advisor people, if you guys land clients, even though you don't have a site, right? You have things get easier. Why do things get easier? One is you've got money coming in and you can use that money to pay for the site, right? They don't have an expectation when you start talking to them that you have a site ready that's already producing. That's the lead gen model that we've had a lot of success with, but the customer's perception is not that.
Right. They're not expecting that. Right?
Yeah. So you can get in cost free and have money coming in, and money solves problems in agencies, right? So if you land a client, let's say you land a client for $1,000 a month, right? And you say, hey, okay, for $1,000 a month, we're going to build you a website. We're going to do SEO on it. If you want our next package up, it'll be $2,000 a month. And we're going to do this additional SEO. We can also manage an ads campaign for you, right? And you guys will be responsible for your own spend, but we can handle the management. And you could white label that management off and still have a profit margin there. You could pass off the development. So we're getting ready to launch our store. We've launched it we we kind of have it like semi-launched in Rank Masters, where you can order website development, right? We're adding in, you can order backlinks, you can order citations, all these
Okay.
different things, because what I saw a lot of people in Rank Masters struggle with is like, they don't want to sell because they're not they don't have the delivery all the way dialed in. So if we take that out of their hands and we can just have them focus on selling, then like
That's been part of my
Sorry.
fear. It's like, I feel comfortable with selling and prospecting, building relationships with business owners, networking events. I love all that. My problem is, like, my fear has been, what if I don't deliver? And then I disappoint people again.
Well,
So, yeah.
hey, you know, part of this, like, hey, we're going to have a store that can help with the delivery of stuff. What's not included with the store yet is like ongoing SEO services. Ours is more like, hey, you want a 2-page website, 5, 10, 30. We've got citations, backlink, Facebook ads management, stuff like this that we're putting in our store. The ongoing SEO stuff, I'm hesitant to put that in there. Nobody that I know of bats 1,000% on SEO. And most people have been had bad experiences with the agencies that they've hired in the past. So like, if you are in there and you're communicating and you have a good relationship with the client, and you're explaining to them like, hey, this is where we are, here's our strategy for next month, you can 100% execute on that strategy. And if you put the right strategy in place, then like you can see growth, and this is how you can maintain the clients. I think what happens for a lot of times where people lose clients is they fail to communicate, and the clients don't see the trajectory. They don't see the positive momentum that's happening. So you've got to have kind of like this monthly.
Right?
What's that?
They feel blind.
Yeah,
right?
they
They're not, like,
assume.
no, but it's crickets. They don't hear anything coming back from the other side. They don't know what's happening, or if nothing's happening.
Right. Well, they think nothing's happening because they're not seeing a result, but it's kind of like a bamboo tree sometimes, where it's got to grow for a while underground, and then when it takes off, it can shoot up, right? The bamboo tree grows underground for like 3 years, and then it shoots up 80 feet in 1 year, right? So this is, hey, it's not going to take 3 years for SEO to take place, but it's that kind of same philosophy. And if you're not communicating and showing like, hey, this is the growth we're seeing, we've moved here, here's our heat maps, right? Here's how our organics rankings are. We brought in this many reviews. If you give them all this information, Google Analytics, like, hey, we've seen an increase in traffic, like, and they can see the momentum happening, their ability to be patient is magnified, right? So, if I were in your shoes, if anyone's starting out, the first thing I would do is I would be focusing on prospecting. You could also be building your niche sites. If I, like, honestly, that's what I would do if I was starting over, is I would pick 3 or 4 sites, 3 or 4 niches. I would pick some cities, and I would start prospecting in those cities where I'm building these sites for people to get on a trial. So I mentioned this a few times. I'm in the process now of, I put myself back into the agency after being out of it for several years, and I moved Jeff over to focus on kind of partner relationships in our software company. So I got 3 people on a trial last week, where I just called them up. I talked to them. They're taking the few leads that we have coming in from some lead gen stuff, and we'll have the ability with this relationship to build them and kind of combine it, build a site like, hey, we can work on your site too, so we can start collecting money for their site, and then we have more structure in place because we own a site in that area. We have more ability, to deliver better results for them. Does that make sense, Sarah?
It does. So like with those, like, I'm sorry, I've been like out of it for a while, but like, most of the people here in this group, are you guys doing mostly like rank and rent, and then doing the free trial testing with agencies? Or is it, because I thought like the trend was like not doing SEO as much because clients will drop you eventually, and you're better off doing lead gen, right?
Yeah. So Sarah, part of this is very subjective, what we're talking about here. My personal opinion has changed probably in the last like 12 to 14 months, quite a bit. So I think that for a long time, Google has been attacking that business model. And recently, over the last 12 to 14 months, they seem to have got a lot more successful with attacking that business model, right? Part of what they're doing is, well, like when we started this model, think about it like 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago for some of us. And we looked at the competitive sites that were in there in our local area, and we would see that there's 7 or 10 reviews. Now, a lot of those have 50, 100 reviews. Google has gotten very aggressive with removing reviews, whether those reviews are generated through fake, accounts or whatever, or whether they're real reviews. There tons of them have gotten removed. So we have more competitive landscape from a Google My Business perspective. We have Google being more aggressive with the suspensions. We have Google making it harder to get these things stood up without a real account, right? Then you have the client services side. So I kind of view it as this teeter-totter of like, previously I would think like, well, dealing with like all the client stuff was hard. Like I could lose them, all this kind of stuff. And then as Google My Business became harder, I think the scale was twisted a little bit. And now I think the best model is to kind of blend them together. I'm in some other groups, and there's, big agencies, 7 figures, multiple 7-figure agencies. I'm in 3 or 4 groups that I see this where there's big agencies. None of these people like do lead generation. That's not their model. A lot of them hadn't even heard of it. Like, explain the model to them. They're running like a $2 million business a year, and you explain the model and they're like, oh, I've never heard of this, right? So I've seen a lot of people that have had success just with the client services model. And then, going back to the days I was in, I think a lot of us were in a group where there were 6,000 or 7,000 people in it. And being, one of the students that maybe had more success in that group, and then talking to the other students, there was very few that reached 7 figures with that. It can be a harder model to scale when it's based on rankings, right? The thing with people that are running this model is you have to be good at ranking sites. If you're not, no one's going to pay you. With the client services, you can kind of take the target off your back a little bit and say like, hey, we built you a website. Here's this. We're building up your brand. You have all these other ways to show value rather than it strictly just being leads. So if you blend the two models together, you can scale faster and you can still retain the clients, because like you can build your own stuff and you can leverage some of the local resources from a client to help you stand up your own Google My Business. Maybe they have a cousin or somebody and they can help you with an address. So that's the model we moved to. And I think it's better than either one of those on their own.
So to you, then just so I understand better, so then client services encompasses what? The GMB, the website, the ongoing maintenance, the SEO. Is that like, and then Facebook ads, like whatever the client.
Facebook ads, Google ads. It could be other services too, such as answering the calls for them, using a system like LeadSnap to nurture the leads for them, reputation management. I think generic.
So a whole complete kind of thing, right? Like
Yeah.
Like becoming the marketing department for that company.
Exactly right. And one of the things I think is important is to have that kind of like account manager role in there to make sure that relationship is very well managed as you move into that model, because you can't just.
So me assuming the account manager role, or like as I scale, but it's on my side, right? Not on the business's side.
That's right. So your account manager is checking in and giving them those updates and showing how there's been growth and this type of thing for them. Like you have to spell that out for them, or they'll assume that there's none.
Okay, so back to I'm sorry, everybody.
I think this might be like, hold on one sec. Throw in the chat if you guys are getting value from this. Let us hear it. I think this has been a productive conversation. That's why I'm kind of letting it roll. Maybe there's new people. I see some seasoned vets that are on this call. So, but I imagine people in the group, maybe they're maybe the newer people in the group will certainly get some value from this. But I do want to make sure, Sarah, ask your last question, and then I want to rotate around to make sure.
No, it was that just the steps that you would do, like the 3 to 4 niches. One thing Dave and I were doing is that we wouldn't bring on a business unless they had at least 2 trucks. Like plumber, electrician, like whatever. At least if they have two trucks, they've already been in business a few years, and they're looking to grow and expand. It's not just a one-man show.
Yeah, I
Right.
love that. I love this idea. When you're getting started, it can be harder to find those people to like the bigger companies like this company. These are the ones that I love to work with. And what you're going to find is like the best clients are people that want leads, not people that need leads, right? The
Right.
people that like, hey, I'm panicking here. Like this isn't going to be a good situation if you have to be their savior. But the people that have scaled, there's like this hump, right? For all businesses where they have enough revenue and they understand the ability to hire and manage a team and they got over that hump. And once they're past that hump, then it's like, okay, this looks like it can be a legitimate business. And I love to work with those type of businesses. The prospecting methods that are going to generate a lot of those businesses are things that you're going to have to invest in. So for instance, like running Facebook ads or cold email, it's maybe going to be a little bit harder to land that type of business,
Oh,
but
for the niche, like running those ads for like whatever, like home remodeling. This like one thing I'm doing is I'm going to be remodeling my bathroom. So I'd be running ads for those contractors or those people who will be doing those services.
I
Right.
would be running ads for those contractors. But that type of ad where you're bringing people in cold, like that's going to attract the people more that need leads. But if you start to position yourself with more long-term strategies to attract clients, such as you speak at associations, right? Or you've got great SEO for your niche website that's bringing these people in, or perhaps you have a podcast for your niche, right? And you bring in these, you'll start to attract bigger agencies, or I'm sorry, bigger companies, bigger contract companies, right? So
And going into Facebook groups and adding value, like not just trying to sell your services, going in there and
right.
answering questions and
Perhaps starting your own Facebook group and positioning yourself as the authority, right? So the more you can position yourself as an authority, the bigger fish you'll attract, the more warm they'll come in, the better types of clients. Also, the longer it will take you to set up that type of positioning usually.
right, but
So
then people will be more sticky.
people are
Right.
more sticky. They're better clients.
Mhm. Okay, good.
Let's
Right.
go over to financial freedom fighter.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I had two quick questions. The first question was just to follow up on something I asked you and Jeff last week, about appealing the removal of reviews, on the GMBs. Just like you said, in the last addressing the last question. So the question is, Jeff said that like, keep appealing the reviews, the removal, because that's what real businesses would do, right? So I'm okay doing that. I did appeal per you guys' recommendation last week, and then Google wrote me. This is the first time they've wrote me a message like this, where they were like, okay, so first I appealed, and then they replied with an email like blah 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 blah, and then I followed up with like screenshots of the reviews, just like Jeff said in his video. And then after that, Google wrote me again, and this is the weird email that I received, and they were like, hey, thanks for contacting us about the missing reviews. We did not reinstate the reviews because they violate our policies. And then they, listed some reasons that didn't apply to me, but, whatever. And then at the end of the email, they said this email address can't accept replies as the request is complete. We apologize for any inconvenience. So my question is, should I just open a new ticket and try to appeal again? Just keep on watch, rinse, repeat type thing?
Harass them. Yeah. Just like two things. Is this for a client site or is this for a site that you own?
Yeah, it's like I own it.
Okay. So I think that you'll probably get some success if you stay after it. But I also think that this may not be the best use of your time. Like I wouldn't invest a ton of time into it because you could be doing this like if you kind of here, let me share my screen. I'll take you into this. I've drawn this out a couple times before, and I know every time I do, people get something out of it. And this
I'll
is
just say
exactly
real quick, I'll add, like in my experience, I haven't seen it where they have the no reply, but you can go back to the prior email where it is do reply. I've always been able to reply to the emails But when they throw me that email, I just respond to it and I say, duh, I don't see any, conflict or lack of compliance on any of the reviews. None of them did any of these things. Why don't you need to take another look, And then that's when they usually, at that point, the next email I get is like, okay, fine. I don't even read the emails, honestly. I just like, whatever. I see the reviews are there. I'm cool,
Okay.
I don't read too much into that's all just canned email. Like they're not like, responding to you by hand. It's just a canned email,
Okay.
So they're on their side, they're like, oh, cool, we'll just tell them it was against the regulations or whatever, and they won't bother us again. And then you bother them again, and they're like, oh crap, I guess we're gonna have to do something.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
let me share my screen real quick. This is kind of what I think about this question. And so you guys can see like an Excel spreadsheet that I just made, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this is the hourly rate. That's what that is. So these tasks, $5 an hour. So this might be like challenging reviews, right? Is going to fall into that category where we can maybe have somebody from another country where the pricing index is more in our favor. And then we've got, so let's say that I'll put this over here. Let's say we spend 2 hours messing with this. And then we have like, let's hear it in the chat. What do you guys think? What do you think a $10 an hour task is? I would say like maybe website building would be in that $10 an hour task, right? So website building could be here. And maybe we spend 4 hours. So if we were going to total up our time right now, so we've got how much value have we created? So $10 plus this is $40. So we've created $50 with 6 hours of work. This is not how you're going to get to 7 figures. This is not how you're going to become, a financial freedom fighter by working for $5 or $10 an hour. We go over here and let's what a $50 an hour activity. Maybe this could be like an account manager that is going over here and they're saving clients because they're having conversations with them or they're identifying opportunities for expansion revenue. So expansion revenue is revenue. It's more revenue from our existing clients. New revenue is like, hey, we go and land a new client. So we're talking about maybe they identify some expansion revenue opportunities, right? So maybe we have an hour of that. What about $100 an hour activity or $1,000 an hour? This could be sales, right? So this could be sales. So imagine that we pay somebody to do these things and we spend 8 hours here. That's $8,000. Look at how far apart these are. But because we're starting off, sometimes we want to spend our time in these other categories. I think that challenging reviews is just like, hey, maybe reviews can move the dial and you're going to go back and forth for a couple months with these people. But maybe what's better is like building a system to get reviews, right? So maybe, hey, I learned how, and I get my QR codes, I get the LeadSnap stuff set up, and it takes me like 3 hours to do that. And now I've got so this is a system for reviews, right? So now I spend 3 hours there. So that's maybe $100 an hour activity, right? And then there's $10,000 an hour. Like this keeps going up. Guess who plays in this area? Like people that have more money play in this area, right? Elon Musk or somebody like this, they spent so much time. They've got their $50,000 an hour activities, and they spent so much time there that they've created this massive amount of revenue. So you always got to be thinking like, what's the value of this? We say it all the time, times the thing we can't get back. Like, right? What does that actually mean? One of the things I hear about billionaires all the time is they just value their time so differently, right? This is what they're talking about right here is they're not going in there and worrying about challenging reviews. They're over there landing new clients or they're building a system, right? So I'm going to interview a guy for a sales position tomorrow, right? So that's probably going to take me an hour. If this works out to be a really good thing for me. Maybe this is a $10,000 an hour activity for me because this guy can go and close business for me for years, right? And then if I hire another one, or if I build my sales system, right? So that's one of the things I'm focused on right now is I'm building a system for sales where it's like, hey, we've got the leads coming in here. Here's the nurturing. Here's the follow-up. Here's the calendar, the emails, all these different pieces that we're constructing so that the system can run itself. That's a $10,000 an hour activity, right? So, here's another example. Speaking at these events, right? I go and I spoke at, 5 or 6 events in the last year. Well, we land a bunch of clients when I do that. And then those people sign up. That's a $10,000 an hour activity, right? That stage time is money time. So how do I create those opportunities? You building a relationship, if you're niche down, you building a relationship with somebody from the association that gives you the opportunity to speak and present in front of your niche. That's a $10,000 an hour activity, right? Because I did this. I created a relationship with a guy in concrete many years ago. Took me a while. I spent some hours doing it over months. And then I got the opportunity and I spoke in front of like 30 or so concrete contractors. And I think I closed like 18 to 20 of them at $1,500 a month. That was great use of my time. So I'm sorry. I can't remember. I know I saw your name last week, but I'm sorry. I can't remember. What was your name again?
I mean, my first name is Freddie. Like I also
Freddie.
go by Jackson, which is my middle name. So yeah.
I'm gonna call you Freddie Jack. So Freddie Jack, is this making sense here?
Yes, I just don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Patrick's completely right, but if you're spending, you definitely don't want to be spending that much time on trying to get the reviews back. Like it literally in, less than 5 minutes, you should be able to put in the initial request. And then if you go back to the email and see that they've responded a couple days later, it's literally like a 12-word, line back to them, and should take you 30 seconds. So if you're spending any more time than that, then definitely. But the concept that Patrick's talking about is definitely valid.
Okay, and you say just reply to the initial email where they allow a reply as opposed to opening a brand new ticket.
I would try that first, and then if that doesn't work, then open a new ticket. Yep.
Okay.
Because
Okay,
opening
so
a ticket also is not that difficult. It only takes a minute.
Okay. So I mean, just real quick, piggybacking off of that, I wanted to ask about websites and if you or anyone can let me know, like in terms of like lead generation, not clients, do you have any lead gens that have only a website, no GMBs? And if so, how many leads are those bringing in compared to like ones that have GMBs? Like, is a website alone good enough? And then the part B to that is, Patrick, you mentioned getting backlinks from the store. Is that available, and how can we access that if it is available?
It's not available yet. We're going to drop it for the Rank Masters members first, and then we'll bring it to the general public, if that's what we want to call it, to the LeadSnap group, a little bit after we've kind of like ironed out everything. So the answer, I guess, is no currently. Hopefully in the near future, in the next few weeks, we can get that live to other people. I would say probably there's like a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio of leads that come from a well-ranking Google My Business versus an organic site. We do have sites where we've lost to Google My Business, and then we still get leads coming in organically. It's just our lead production definitely drops. You can really feel it. You can absolutely feel it. So whenever we have a site that's ranking well and we have no Google My Business, then like that's one of our top priorities is to try to secure that Google My Business. So yeah, and like Freddie, where are you with your business? How many paying clients do you have?
Okay, so how many clients do I have? I have 3. Right now they're not paying so much because the reviews were removed, so no leads are not coming in, so they're not paying as much. But in the height of things, yeah, 3 paying clients.
Okay.
I mean, 3 paying contractors.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the challenges that we deal with And part of the shift that we've made is based on like the response that you just said right there is like the reviews are removed, and then like the only way we're showing value is through leads. But if you had a client services component to that, then like you can continue to collect money, you can collect more money, right? You can show more value. A lot of the stuff that Google's targeting is going, it won't be impacted to the same extent when it's owned by a real business owner. So there's a lot of benefits there. So I would certainly look at that and see if there's a way that you can collect from them. I would recommend that you read the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. It talks a lot about what I was just saying here. Depending on where you are with like income and how much you can afford, it may make sense to have an assistant on your team. And I would not necessarily think of this person as low level. I would like try to find the most intelligent, hardworking, affable, like the person that you can groom to help you with some of these things. You could, for now, you could go to onlinejobs.ph or Upwork, or you could use LinkedIn. You could post a free ad and target like Colombia or something, get somebody on the same time zone for you. I think from my experience, what I've felt is a lot of times though, there's maybe like more of a cultural alignment, in the understanding of expectations is better than when it's like across the world and, you know, a million other things are different aside from time zones. So, but I would start to think about like, how can I get more done? Can I groom somebody into this and pass off some of these tasks for them? Like the stuff you're doing, everything you guys are doing, I would record. It's cheap, it's free, right? You can get Vimeo, which is $15 or $10 a month. And then you can make recordings. You can put those into Google Docs and start building out your SOPs. So that way, when you bring someone on, they can just go and execute. Okay, here's how you challenge reviews. I want you to set something on the calendar. So every 7 days or every 14 days, I want you to look and follow up with these. And like, it has to be a system. It can never be based on them remembering it. So start to get some of that structure in place and look, can you afford to hire somebody? If you can't, that's okay. But when will you? At what point? At what point? Let's put a target on the board in front of us or whatever, and say, okay, when I get to this point, I'm going to be able to bring this person on. And if you bring on the right person and you have the right SOPs and the right like measurements of them, then your productivity can exponentially increase. So I would highly recommend you check out that book, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I'm not recommending it because he is my coach, but he is my coach because he has the skills that allowed him to write this book, right? That's like, I seek people out like that. It's a fantastic book. Reading it is simple. Maybe you can read it in a couple days. Executing on it is probably going to take you a year, maybe multiple years to actually like process through this stuff. So Freddie, does that give you direction?
Yes, thank you so much, Patrick and Jeff, both of you. I really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Yeah, absolutely, man. Good to see you on the call again. All right, Mr. Edwin Scott.
Hello, hello.
Hola, how are you?
Good. I just joined a little late, so I'm gonna try to make it the question easy. What would be the value that you would add to the business owner if it's not lead generation, like in terms of sales, like with the lead generation was the leads, and that was the model that you come with the leads in hand and they love it. It's easier to close them. But if you don't produce those and you try to pivot to the model that you're describing, like as service, what do you call it? Like,
it's like the standard everyday approach to marketing and SEO.
So it's basically going back to the agency model, right? Like
the agency model, but I like the blended model of having the agency model plus the pros and cons, right? So the agency model, like this is going to be more scalable. This is going to be, we're not going to have a target on our back. Profit margin, not nearly as good. That's okay though. If you have something that's scaling faster with the smaller profit margin, right? Like, 35% of a watermelon is bigger than 100% of a grape, right? So like, if you think about like, let me take a smaller percentage of a bigger thing, right? That I'm able to scale And if you could blend those, then you can increase your client retention while still building kind of like these rental type model where you have assets that you own, right? That can't just be, or it's harder maybe to just like sweep those out from under you. Does that make sense, Edwin?
No, I'm a little confused. So are you describing when you say the mixed model is you do the SEO for them and you try to do lead generation for them as well, or
Exactly
just
right.
one
So
model?
let's say that Jeff comes to me and he's got this like company and he builds fences and I say, Jeff, okay, here's what we're going to do is I'm going to set you up with, I'm going to build you a website. I'm going to do SEO on your website and it's going to be $1,000 a month, right? I'm going to build out these other social media things and I'm going to meet with Jeff once a month and I'm going to go through and be like, hey, Jeff, here's our plan. Here's some of the things that we're targeting. Meanwhile, I'm going to build out my own fencing site in the same city, and I'm going to get Google My Business for that. And I'm going to say, hey, Jeff, I've got these leads coming in from a site that I own. You're doing great work. I'd love to sell these to you as well. So if you want these, it's going to be an extra, like maybe I've got 20 leads coming in, so it's going to be an extra $1,000. I don't know what a fencing lead costs, an extra $1,000 a month. So I've got an add-on package in there. I've got a blended model. Now, if Jeff decides he wants to go a different direction, guess what? You're not getting my leads anymore. You own the site and stuff that we built for you, but I own this stuff. So it makes them sticky. My profit margin goes up. And now I've got something that I can own. If Jeff decides, like I had a client that he was in concrete and he decided that he wanted to be a butcher. I'm like, I can't talk him out of that. That's his dream. He wanted to be a butcher. He wants to cut meat, right? So he left, he closed up shop, but I still owned all these sites. So I was able to take those, to somebody else. This is kind of what I call the blended model. It's blending the two together. I think it's stronger than either one. The number of people that I've seen successfully run the lead generation model compared to the number of people that let's say not successfully, build a 7-figure plus agency is so much in favor the other way. However, it's distorted because the other one is so much more popular, right? But I think there's a scalability piece that is a little bit easier with this client services. And if you blend the two together, I think you can get the best of both worlds. Does that make sense, Edwin?
Yeah, it does make sense. The only thing that I'm thinking of is, how do you start the conversation with the lead generation? You right out of the bat, you come with the lead in hand. So meaning that they already see the value up front. You say, oh, this guy is bringing me leads. So how do you
it depends where you are.
How do you
Depends where you
sell
are.
the services like the SEO, whatever, if you don't have right now anything to prove to them to add value up front? You see what I mean?
Yeah, so you can
Because-
sell them on like, so it's you're kind of in like two different scenarios. One is like I have legions that are producing leads, or I have a legion that is not producing leads. That's scenario one. So I have like an existing legion. The second is I have nothing in this city, but this person wants service. So if I have the first one that's producing leads, that's my way in, and then I can use that to build trust and be like, hey, we can have more lines in the water. Let's work on your stuff too. It's going to be this additional amount. This is something I own, but we can build something that you own and we can hit the market multiple times. You have a bigger market share through this strategy. So if I don't have anything set up, then it's like, hey, we offer this. We also have this add-on. For this add-on, like if this person's paying me and I want an easy way in, like I just want to maybe give them transparency and clarity about what I'm doing, and I can position in a way where I'm adding value. I could say, hey, because you're our paying client, we usually do this as well. We don't charge anything extra for this, or maybe you want to say it's a startup fee. I'll build this, and then you don't pay anything until leads come in, and then you're only paying based on what it produces, right? This gives them, some comfort in the fact that they're not going to be tied to it unless it's producing, right? A lot of times, I think with the lead gen model is what happens is like we land a client, we don't have anything set up. We say it's going to be 3 months, it's 6 months. We lose the client on month 3 or 4. Then the second client that we find, which maybe is a couple months later, now the thing's like producing, that person gets the benefit. But if you use this model, you don't have to lose that first client because you can show the progress that you're having for something that they own, right? And they'll be more patient if they're not like paying you for something that they don't even own and it's not producing.
Okay.
Good question. Great question, Edwin.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any pop off in there. So like continue to think of questions if they're out there, guys. I'll just mention why we're almost at an hour, but I'll mention here, we have our event coming up. You guys think you're getting value on these calls? I challenge you to come to one of our events and see what that feels like. Every time we do it, I think we get better. We have some really big names that are going to be a part of our next event. So if any of you guys have heard the name Eddie Malouf, he is one of our speakers at this next event. I'm going to try to get him on an interview as well as with some other speakers. The Eddie Malouf runs one of the biggest masterminds for home service contractors in the world. So he's going to be coming to speak at our event. It's good to have connections, know people that know people. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have been able to get access to this person. Some of you guys know Amy Ball. Amy will be coming to speak at our event as well. I'm also bringing in somebody who is a Facebook ads expert, right? At Facebook ads for helping you land clients for your agency, right? So in my opinion, there's not a lot of problems that more money won't solve in an agency. So if we can create a pipeline system to bring prospects in, well, that is going to help us scale our agency. Then it's just a question of delivering, right? So we have the delivery options that we're going to be releasing with our store. So it's kind of like a great 1-2 punch. We have Terry Samuels, who's going to be doing our VIP session, talking a lot about some like ranking pieces in there, some SEO. That's just going to be for the VIP session, and he's going to have some templates and stuff. If you guys haven't seen, the next event will be at one of the coolest houses you've ever seen in the world. I think there's a couple people that were on this call that are on this call. Janeri was at the last event. Maybe it's just Janeri. Janeri, how was that house last time? What did you think of that?
It's so dope. It was amazing. It was the house itself was just such an experience. It was amazing. I actually want to rent it from a family reunion, if anything. It was
Super cool.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we're gonna put some of the photos. We're kind of like holding them for the event launch, but just a little bit about the last house, which this house is actually going to be it's owned by the same person. It's a little bit different. This one's going to be focused on like every room, there's 20 bedrooms, every room is themed towards different things. The last time we rented it, there was a lazy river in the backyard with a bar and a movie theater inside the lazy river goes around this little island, and there's a movie theater on both sides. We have the hot tub. There was a gym built into the house. There was multiple game rooms, laser tag. It was just like the coolest house that you've ever seen. So you stack this with very talented speakers in a community of people that are open and willing to help, and you get something special. And I think this is what we're going to create. So February 1st through 4th, if you are a Rank Masters member, you'll have the day before, which will be a workshop where we'll all work together with the coaches to kind of work through any issues that you may be having, giving a lot of personalized attention. For the others, February 1st through 4th, it's going to be in Orlando. And yeah, so we're going to have Thursday night will be our kind of like meet and greet. We'll have a bar. So we bring in a bartender. It's an open bar. Then Friday, Saturday, we have, lectures and different group activities to try to help us with solving different agency problems. This event's theme is all going to be about prospecting and sales, for like helping you grow your agency by landing new clients, because this is kind of the area that I've shifted to, where people try to solve problems that don't exist in their agency. And a lot of those problems would be solved by hiring the person who's an expert in that area. You can't afford to do that unless you have clients coming in. Once you have a pipeline, a system for landing clients, then you can start to solve who, not how problems. Who can solve this problem for me? What do I need? Who's the expert in this area? Right. So, going back to like Elon Musk, he's not going through and like doing all the engineering on all the Teslas that come out, even though maybe he has some capabilities. He's hiring the best engineers he can find. And then he's hiring the people that build the cars. And then he's hiring customer service people. We got to learn from this, right? We can build an assembly line with great people in these different areas, but we can't fund that until we have clients coming in. So that's why we've set up this next event to talk about how we can land clients, how we can build systems. So our speakers are going to be very focused on that topic, which I think if you're out there and you're hoping to get financial freedom, if you're hoping to connect with a bunch of people that are at all different phases, from, you know, just getting started to doing multiple millions of dollars a year, this could be a great opportunity for you. I think our last event was fantastic. I go to a ton of events, and you know, I've had the opportunity to speak at these events, and that's always fun. But there's something special about doing a mansion mastermind, where it's just the whole vibe, the whole energy is different. We all stay together. We have everything come in. It's catered. It's just a tighter community. The downside of doing a mansion mastermind is that the seats are limited, right? We have a capacity limit. Like, it's not a scarcity tactic. We're not allowed to have more than I can't remember what the number is this time, X amount of people. After that, there's zero we can do to expand that. We haven't opened up the ticket sales yet, but we will be soon. So I'm really excited. I'm super excited for this next event. I know that what it feels like is every time somebody comes to our events, like, the chances of them coming to the next event is like 95%, right? That's what we saw from our first two events. Like, people are like, I will move mountains to come to this because it was fantastic. And, you know, we'll bring some of these people on and talk more about this as it unfolds, but put it on your calendar if you're interested, February 1st through 4th in Orlando. We'd love to see you guys there, especially some of you guys newer faces, right? That are coming in here. Freddie's in there, and you know, Edwin, you're always in there asking questions. Paul Myers, it would be good to see you migrate for the winter for a week. I know you've got a lot of family members and stuff, but we'd love to have you down there and hang out with you. Okay, I haven't seen any other hands go up or questions. I'll give you guys one last.
Where's the information for the event?
We'll be pushing that out, I think, probably on the next call or so.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, yeah, we're having our site built to advertise this. So, but yeah, we'll have the information on our next call with I think we'll have all the speakers, we'll have the agendas, we'll have all the information that you'll need, and the availability if you're interested to sign up for the event. All right. Any other questions? Awesome. All right, guys. Running out of time on 2023. So you got 11 days, right, until 2024. You can tuck it in and you can say, hey, I'm going to push things off until 2024. You can decide, like, let me get a jump start. Let me put myself in a better position. I know Dan Martell was, I was just talking to one of our partners, and Dan Martell has this area this time of year, which he calls the, Jeff, what does he call it? The time of separation season.
Season, yep.
Yeah, separation season. Well, so separation season is your opportunity to separate yourself from competitors, because what a lot of people do is they're like, hey, I'm going to take off for Christmas, and that's totally cool. Like, I'm all for having balance in your life. Other people make the decision that they're going to separate themselves from their competition by, hey, they're going to take some time off, but they're going to lean in and they're going to get an edge by getting some things done. So I love that mentality, you know. So what are you going to do in the next week? I'd love to throw it in the chat. Let's just extend this call another couple minutes. Throw in the chat, like, what are your guys' goals for the week? So where are you going to be 7 days from now that is going to better position you and set you up for 2024? And for me, like, one of the things I want to do is I'm looking towards finishing our sales systems for my company, potentially hiring a salesperson. We've got some follow-up sequences that we're building. I've got some training that I'm working on for the Rank Masters community. I've obviously got some event planning. So Jeff says he's going to get clarity on his goals and set the stage for 2024. Janeri's going to send out 100 personalized emails to her prospect list. Guys, it's people like this that are that see results, right? Janeria has been seeing a lot of results because she's taking action every week. Edwin Scott, 30 new reviews. All right. I like to see it. Guys, sometimes if we don't ask the question and we're not forced to actually commit, then we just float around. And if you don't have a destination plan, then you're going to get where you're going, and no matter what direction you go. So let's like be intentional and actually set a plan. Steven, he's got 3 meetings this week with new clients who found him. That's fantastic. That's awesome. All right, guys, let's have a fantastic week. You guys, if you are people that celebrate Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holidays. Have some fun time with your family. Everybody stay safe. All right.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year.
Thank you.
Merry
You
Christmas.
guys.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Adios.